Coming up on All About Android, it's me, Florence Ion, Ron Richards, and Corbin Davenport from Android Police. We talk about Android 11 and the reduction of choice, at least some people think so. Also, wireless Android Auto gets a wider release with Android 11. Samsung's Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, which I've had for almost a week now. I share some impressions ahead of a full review. A new 5G BlackBerry is around the corner. Why Civilization 6 is Corbin's favorite game on Android right now. Your email and a whole lot more next on All About Android. All About Android is brought to you from LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure that they are by making access and authentication seamless, whether employees are working in the office or remotely. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by IT Pro TV. Get the best, well-rounded IT education from the experts. Visit itpro.tv/allaboutandroid for an additional 30% off all consumer subscriptions for the lifetime of your active subscription, and use code AAA30 at checkout. And by LastPass, allow your remote workforce the ability to do their best work without jumping through hoops. Ensure your business's security with LastPass. Visit lastpass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode 487, recorded on Tuesday, August 25th, 2020, your weekly source for latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Florence Ion. That's me.
Florence the Rock Ion.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank
a lot of
you.
energy.
I just felt like maybe you paused after Florence, so I almost felt like there was going to be like a wrestler kind of interjection name in there, and then Ion. I don't know. Don't listen to me. Apparently, I'm on drugs or something today.
No, it's okay.
No, don't say that.
Well, my drug is smoke in the air. Because there's a whole lot of smoke.
Then that would be my drug too, and I can tell you that if I had a name, it would be more of a raver name, and it would be Flowglow.
Oh, okay.
So there you go.
Flowglow. Okay, that works. Florence Flowglow. Mm-hmm. I like it. Joining us and probably wondering why is Corbin Davenport from AndroidPolice.com. How you doing, Corbin?
Hello. I don't have smoke here. So
yeah,
I guess I'm the only one not on drugs. Is that how this works?
Well, I think now Ron's in New York, so there's no smoke or wildfires raging outside of New York.
Ron
as far
has
as
humidity.
Right,
Just 94-degree heat. That's all.
Yes.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everywhere we look, it's like this world is just different. I feel like every time I look out the window, I see a different scene. And right now, it is the smoke that is, attributed to wildfires in the area. Thankfully, it sounds like they're getting it all under control. But it's just this weird year, man. Like this year needs to like straighten up a little bit. That's what I need. Corbin, we're really happy to have you on. Thank you so much for hopping on. We actually, Micah Sargent and I had you on Tech News Weekly last Thursday to talk about the PinePhone. So anyone who wants to get like deep details on the PinePhone, Corbin was over there. But we actually, I don't know, like when we talked about that story on All About Android last week, and then after the show, Flo was like, we got to get Corbin on. So I was like, yes, we're going to make it happen. So I'm really happy.
I yelled at you for not having Corbin on the show. And I said, why we not had him on? So you can thank me, Corbin.
Thank you, Flo. See, even when I remember still at Google I/O last year when I think we were sitting at the press area and I was trying to be nice and give you my battery to charge your Chromebook, and then we realized that your Chromebook was powering my battery.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's right.
I'm glad you've forgiven me for taking your charge.
Well, that's how we met. We shared a charge. So.
Yeah,
That's right.
Remember when the world was open and that could happen?
Yeah, I know. Remember when you could get on an airplane? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. It seems like so long ago. It really does. Well, it's great to get you on, man. And we've got a lot to talk about today. So why don't we jump right into it? It's time for some news, Burke, at the studio.
We pick the news for you here on Android News.
Yes, we do. And you have no input whatsoever. That's why you're going to learn about Android 11, which we've been talking about a lot, actually, in previous episodes. But I feel like this was news that almost made last week, but then I saw a lot of people really reacting to it, and then Google now has a response, so it's worth talking about. Android 11 is making a change that seems to have upset a lot of people. So essentially, Android devices have long been about choice, and largely it's been about the ability to set default apps for certain things, namely the camera in this case. And that's not necessarily going away. From my understanding of this change in Android 11, it's not that we're going to lose the ability to set a default camera that's different from the system camera while we're using Android 11. It just has to do with when you're using another app that needs to tap into the camera, instead of being able to tap into whatever camera you set, it's always going to choose the system camera. I don't know. I was trying to really understand and figure this one out before showtime, and I think that's kind of where we're at. Yet that still has people upset because, you know, everybody always likes to kind of fall back on the idea that, oh, this is the iOSification of Android. They're removing the choice. Now we can't even select the default camera when we're inside of this other app that wants to jump out to a camera. We have to use the one Google wants and not the one that we want. It's being done in the because of like security reasons, essentially. Google responded. They acknowledged that the change is related to keeping bad actors from potentially harvesting your location. Those are their words. Essentially protecting against EXIF data being processed incorrectly and exposing location data in the process. So Google did reiterate that this is not removing your ability to set a different camera app as the default on your device. It's just this particular use case. Does this bother anybody? I don't know why it doesn't bother me that much. I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. But I tend to lean into the default camera app on my Pixel. So maybe that's the reason why. What about y'all?
I'm with you.
I'm shaking my head. I'm shaking my head, which is why there's no sound coming out.
Except the sound of your head shaking.
I'm sorry. I was thinking
Corbin?
about the audio listeners, and well, yes, I'm shaking my head.
Corbin, what do you think about this? I mean, what were the folks at Android Police kind of thinking about this?
You know, every time one of these posts goes up, I can pre-predict what all the comments will be like, because every time Google cuts down on anything, we get the, oh, Android is turning to iOS, and, you know, oh, Google hates choice and all this other stuff. But like, this might be like the most like non-consequential change in Android 11.
Yeah.
Like there's a mile-long list of stuff that was removed and altered, and, you know, you can still use another camera app. You can still you know, they'll still have access to your camera and everything. It's just they can't function as the default handler for some stuff. But, you know, if you want to throw on whatever, you know, Adobe Lightroom camera or whatever, you're not losing anything.
All right. So then it sounds like it's a case of maybe people overreacting to something changing that I don't know. I guess I haven't set a different default camera than the Pixel camera in I think since I've been on the Pixel, because it usually has all those extra features that I just want. But anyone who watches this show knows that at least I am a Pixel fanboy to a certain degree. So maybe that's why. But hopefully,
if anything, sorry, I wanted to add that if anything, this just kind of highlights the fact that these are things that go into consideration into every version of the OS. These are little things that have to be taken into consideration, because imagine the headlines if something was hijacked. It's something that could have been prevented.
To that point, I find it hysterical that the criticism is against doing something to limit geotag hacking or some sort of hacking or any sort of like, it seems like it's a good thing. And especially if they clarify that it's not going to limit you to have to use the Google default camera or anything like that. Like, it's clearly they're thinking about the use cases and they're thinking the best way to protect the majority of users, also knowing that there are users who want to pick their own camera or which camera app they use or whatnot. So, yeah.
And what does that say about other camera apps out there? I mean, this, I think, is also just a story about how maybe you like something, but do you really know the ins and outs of it? Do you really know how safe it is? I think it's still the Wild West out there. Even if it feels like Google is building up a walled garden around us, it really is just kind of a small menial garden that you could just kind of step over. It's inconvenient to step over, and you have to maybe, you don't want to squish
the flowers.
Yeah, and maybe you do need a step stool, but it's not, completely walled off, just to take that metaphor to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Menial garden.
I will say this, Android 11 and Android 10 to an extent kind of have a trend where they're fixing security flaws that like I didn't realize could happen. Like Android, I think it's Android 11 that maybe might have been 10. One of those prevented apps from accessing your clipboard in the background. And when I read that, I was like, oh, they can do that?
Right.
So,
the things you find out when you read the fine print, right? Or when you read the changelog.
Yeah.
All right. So then we've decided this is not that big a deal, although I'm sure we'll hear from people in email who are like, oh, actually, this is why it sucks. And I'm sure it does suck for some people. But I think your point, Flo, is very very interesting. This idea, well, both Flo and Ron, you mentioned this, that Google is making changes that are to protect our data. Google kind of has to. They're really under the microscope and have been for a good amount of years now, as far as that is concerned. They need to make these changes to protect their users. And so this should be something that is celebrated, but it's always possible to also look at it and be like, yeah, but, in doing so, we're losing the freedom that we've been used to using the platform. Like scoped storage is another aspect of this that kind of comes to mind, where there's really good reasons why Google is implementing scoped storage into Android 11, but there's a lot of people that are just kind of upset that it's even happening in the first place, even though those reasons are pure and they're good. So that's just a delicate kind of place for Google to have to be, because there is no making everybody happy, not when you have billions of users of a single thing. So
I think it's worth noting there's a lot of people on the iOS side of this who get just as upset about these little things that Apple does. And I think that we just have to remember that for the most part, the end game here is for both of these companies, Google and Apple, to have market share. And the best way to do that is to insist that what people are using is safe. So,
yes, fair enough.
Speaking of safety, if you're getting behind the wheel soon, maybe you won't have to tether your phone to turn on Android Auto. That's kind of cool. That's a cool little thing to look forward to in the future.
Kind of safety. Yeah.
When I get a car with Android Auto.
Right, yeah. When you find a car with Android Auto.
Yeah. I do think that these little things are actually pretty exciting, just to think about how, we started to add wireless charging to cars, and there's all these other little, now we have LTE in cars. Well, pretty soon you'll be able to have any Android phone wirelessly connect to Android Auto via 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. Yes, inside of your car. The future is here, and it's inside your car. So this feature was originally released in 2018, but only for certain Pixel phones. Initially, the rollout is going to go out to some Samsung devices, of course, because that's where a lot of users are in the Android space. However, phones in the EU will have to have additional regulatory requirements to adhere to if they want to be able to take advantage of this wireless feature. And if they don't adhere to it, then it's tethered for you. So more wires to worry about while you're behind the wheel, worrying about what's outside of the windshield.
And this is a Android 11 feature. So if your phone doesn't have Android 11, well, get the cables out.
Cables out. I will say, I have to say, when it comes to like these automobile specific features, I tend to find them only useful when I'm renting a car.
Yeah.
So I could find this useful because, you know, last year I rented a bunch of cars, okay, because I was going places I needed a car, and it was very annoying to have to remember my cable every time to use Android Auto in the car, which I don't have in my car.
So last year Flo is really hitting the jackpot with this.
Yeah, exactly. Last year Flo was very excited about the futuristic appeal of,
how many car rentals are you doing now in this time period?
Well, in this time, zero. Which, I rented like 5 cars last year. They all had Android Auto. I got very giddy over the ability to use it in the dash, because usually I use it, you know, on the phone up on the windshield. But I guess the real story here is how fast 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi is.
Yeah. And look at the bright side. So by the time Android 11 rolls out to most phones,
right,
maybe this will all be over. So
exactly,
you know, it works out.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
That's a nice net positive.
Glass half full. I like that.
Yeah. This is why we have to have Corbin on the show, because he's a positive.
Yeah.
5.
All the positive stuff I have to say about the car feature my car doesn't have.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I do have to say that I did a quick search to see what cars have Android Auto, and listen, if you're looking for an affordable model, you're gonna have to dig. Unfortunately.
Really? Just tie in.
The Hyundais have them, and I thought Kia did too.
Kia does have one, but it's a high-end Kia. I mean, at least the MSRP starts at $28,500 for the Kia Niro. But like, I did the quick cars with Android Auto, and I see the Kia Niro, I see Mercedes-Benz $70,000, Volkswagen Atlas $31,000. Where is it? The Lincoln MKZ $42,000, Alfa Romeo $40,000.
Yeah.
Oh, the Kia Optima has it. But
there's some cheap cars with it. I'm actually trying to look for a replacement car right now, and I was briefly looking at the Chevy Spark, I think it is, that has an MSRP of like 17,000, 18,000 or something. It has it. So there's a couple cheap cars in there that have Android Auto. But I imagine that's probably the wired Android Auto, not the more fancy wireless that needs more hardware in it.
Okay.
They put a lot of chips in cars these days, I'm telling you. First they started with our engines.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of chips in cars, there's no segue there. But it's interesting that typically we often see, new software features roll out to our phones through the OSs and things like that. But not every day we see a new feature on headphones or the Pixel Buds. So Pixel Buds rolled out an update that's got a new bass boost feature, as well as experimental attention alerts, which will adjust volume when things when things like baby crying or dogs barking or sirens are detected. And you can also deactivate touch controls on the Buds entirely, which honestly, I'm glad to have that, because every now and when I'm running and I go to adjust my earbud and I stop what I'm listening to, it drives me crazy. So it's
totally
agree. But the Pixel Buds are now also included in Find My Device. So if you can't find your Pixel Buds, you can that can help you find them that way. And sharing detection allows for each Bud's volume to be controlled individually, which is useful for sharing Pixel Buds between two people, or if you have different hearing levels in different ears, which is a thing with hearing loss. So you might need a bigger boost than the other one or whatnot. So so some interesting changes rolled out via software to Pixel Buds. I am curious though whether this applies to the first version or this just the new version, because I have the older version. I don't have the latest version of Pixel Buds.
I think it's just the new version.
I think
it's
it
the
is
wireless,
too. Yeah.
The totally wireless ones. Yeah.
Oh well, but I still like my old ones.
Yeah, so often I take these, I use these actually pretty regularly, and the touch surface on the Pixel Buds are so sensitive that even when I'm like taking them out of the ear, to like put them away, it will register it as like no, continue playing, and it'll start playing, and then I'll pick them up later and they've been playing. Like, no, I don't even know where I am in this podcast anymore. You know, little things like that just kind of get annoying. Or I don't have my case with me, so I throw them in my pocket and it registers like a touch through my pocket somehow, and that sort of thing is kind of annoying.
I have issues like that with my I got some Tick Pods too that kind of look like AirPods. And it has a touch sensor on the side for volume and stuff. And what I've noticed is that when I'm outside working and I start sweating a lot, the sweat registers as touch. So like my music will start playing and pausing while I'm like mowing the lawn or something. That's
actually a common issue with those touch buds. I had done some research on that last year for a story, and I remember reading a lot of complaints that people were having about phantom touches, and that's really annoying if you're exercising with these things. You're trying to pay attention to your surroundings, to the ground, and then your music stops. You're out of the zone. I hate it when the music stops and you come out of the zone. It's just like back in reality. How am I going to get back into that again?
Yeah.
Got to start the Spotify playlist all over again.
Oh,
yes, exactly. Or the song. You're like, I got to start the song over again so we can get, to the rise up and then the drop and.
Yeah. You got to go through that whole arc of the song again. You got to start with the quiet. And
it's a psychological impact.
That it is. I actually have enjoyed the Pixel Buds. I appreciate the feature to turn off the touch sensor, though. That was one of the things that when I saw that, I was like, okay, good. I'm probably going to do that, because I feel like the beauty of the Pixel Buds is the totally hands-free assistant, which allows you to do most of the things you want to do anyways on it, like skip forward or turn down the volume, and that's awesome. So I don't really feel like I need the touch sensitivity on it.
It's probably there just so. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
I was just gonna say it's probably there just so they can include it in a feature set.
Oh, for sure. Well, and there are a lot of people that don't feel comfortable using their voice to control technology. Period.
Fair.
So and these devices, these in-ear wireless earbud devices, always seem to have some sort of touch interface, whether it's capacitive or not. They tend to have it as a control scheme. So it would be weird for them to not have it, but I just don't really need it for those in particular. So let's take a break and thank the sponsor, and then we will get into some hardware news. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by IT Pro TV. You need all forms of training when you're entering a new field, and IT Pro TV makes sure that you're going to have it all when you're learning IT specifically. It's right there in the name. Their instructors make learning IT entertaining. IT Pro TV also provides you with virtual labs, so you have the ability to try out the skills that you've learned, and you're not going to have to purchase expensive hardware or deal with a setup. You run your virtual machine with multiple instances of Windows Server, desktop clients on your OS 10 device, Linux, iOS device, and of course your Windows platform. IT Pro TV gives you the opportunity to truly be ready for your IT certification tests with their practice tests, so you can get ready for exam questions covering Microsoft, CompTIA, EC Council, PMI, so many more. And with IT Pro TV, you also have the opportunity to supplement your education with webinars featuring hot topics in the tech world, as well as events and podcasts. And you can check out their podcast, Technado, with Don Pazette, featuring industry guests and IT news recaps. IT Pro TV makes sure you have a well-rounded education that's going to set you up for success in your future IT career. That's what it's all about. With over 5,800 hours of IT training, IT Pro TV is the best place to go for getting started or expanding your IT career. And you can earn certifications, of course, certificates in A+, CCNP, and so many more, including CompTIA. IT Pro TV is also the official video training partner for CompTIA and has 12 CompTIA on-demand courses. So you can take courses for networking skills or security skills, Linux, Apple, and a whole lot more. And you can sign up for a premium membership and let an expert guide you with setting goals and implementing an IT training program to help you reach them. And August, by the way, is IT Pro TV's DevOps month. They'll have a free Python weekend where 5 Python courses will be available at no cost. So invest in yourself and your future with IT Pro TV. Get the IT training that you need from the experts. Go to itpro.tv/allaboutandroid and use code AAA30 and you'll receive 30% off all consumer subscriptions. That's itpro.tv/allaboutandroid and use code AAA30 for an additional 30% off for the lifetime of your active subscription. Pretty cool stuff. IT Pro TV, build or expand your IT career and enjoy the journey. And we thank them for their support of the TWiT network and All About Android. All right, it's time for some hardware. Let's get into it. So the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, gosh, so I think I got this on Wednesday. I got this last Wednesday afternoon, so just missed, getting it on Tuesday and being able to show it off last week. I've got a review cooking for this that I'm going to have on Hands on Tech on next Monday. But this is a beastly phone, you guys. Like the Note 20 Ultra is not messing around. This thing is like a powerhouse, and I gotta say,
Jason,
it's like
don't take this the wrong way, but this phone fits your hand.
Oh, okay. All right, so it doesn't look like crazy ginormous in my hands like it would in somebody else's.
Well, and look, I'm not trying to make some sort of commentary about your hands, or whatever.
What are you saying about my hands?
Usually, phones in comparison, they're pretty small compared to this behemoth that you literally have in your hands.
Yeah. I mean, this thing is gigantic.
I think what Flo was trying to say is that we finally found a phone that's as tall as Jason.
Yes, exactly.
There it is.
And
yes.
Also, I mean, and I apologize, Jason, that I'm just totally singling you out now. I'm sorry. I actually feel kind of bad for venturing into this, but I wanted to use you as an example to say that this is a very special use case to have a phone this big. Like, you really got to want to commit to it, right?
You do, right? Like, I mean, for a number of reasons. Not only is it a huge phone, it's also incredibly expensive. I mean, this starts at $12.99 for the Note 20 Ultra with, I think, like 8 gigs of RAM. Or is it all 12 gigs? Oh, yeah, that's right. It's all 12 gigs of RAM. It's just the $12.99 is for 128 gigs of storage, $14.49 for 512 gigs of storage. Which is what I have here. So, I mean, you're not messing around if you're buying the Note 20 Ultra.
That's laptop prices. That's like full. Yeah. That's gaming. That's gaming laptop prices, honestly.
But you could get you're never messing around if you're buying the Note. Like, people who buy the Note are not messing around. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could get like 4 Nintendo Switch games for that.
if that's how you want it. Yeah, that's important to you.
Or 4 Nintendo Switches.
They're expensive.
Yeah. I mean, look at that camera bump, though, you guys. Like,
I wouldn't want to put that down.
That's a camera mesa. That's a chonker.
Yeah.
It is, and like the way it sits on the table, it's kind of weird, and which is kind of strange because if you want to use like an S Pen to do things while it's on the table, you get this little like wobble effect sometimes.
Oh, that's a design flaw. I'm sorry. That's not a good design decision.
Yeah. I mean,
seriously?
What are you going to do though? Because the camera system on this is pretty good. Like I will say, like the camera system on here is very similar to the S20 Ultra. God, I feel like it's just like slightly out of focus. Sorry about that.
So in that case, then in that instance, if the case or the bezel was thicker to accommodate a smooth back with a flat placement, like does it have to be so thin? Like it seems like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too with the camera bump.
Yeah.
And especially with the device that has a stylus and can be used in that way. Now that said, if you put a case on it, I bet you that smooths out the back, right? Doesn't that kind of normalize it? Yeah.
Totally. And that's my plan. I wish I had the S20 Ultra.
But then you're carrying a gigantic
computer.
But then you're carrying a gigantic pocket computer. Like it's just
But you kind of know that when you're getting the Note 20, you're not buying the Note 20 because you're like taking a chance on some random phone nobody's heard about. You're buying this because you're spending a lot of money on this because hopefully you know why you're getting it, and most people would be getting it because of the S Pen functionality. Although there's a rumor, I don't know if this rumor happens every year, but there's a rumor that the next series of Galaxy S series is going to not have a Note as a distinct hardware, but it's going to be like the top of the line S21 or whatever the heck they're going to call it will have an S Pen with it, but who the heck knows whether that's actually true or not. But anywho, so I've been using this now since last Wednesday. When I got it, I immediately put my SIM card into here, and so I am going to be doing a review of this, but I think there's some really interesting aspects of this. First of all, there's this news that somebody on YouTube, I guess is Phone Buff on YouTube, was doing a drop test on the S20 Ultra, and this has Gorilla Glass Victus. Apparently it's the first device with this particular new type of Gorilla Glass. It was dropped face down, almost 5 feet high, 10 times in a row, and not a single crack on the glass, which is kind of impressive. So I don't know if Gorilla Glass finally has a winner on their hands, because I feel like every year we expect it to be better and better, and then our phones still crack like crazy. I'm not saying it's indestructible, but that's still pretty impressive.
That's one step closer.
How many years has Corning been doing Gorilla Glass?
Yeah, forever, right?
I mean, they finally got it. They finally got the one that doesn't break.
Yep, right. So 3 out of 10 for repairability by iFixit. They say there's a lot of adhesive underneath, very tedious screen repair. Yeah. So there's that. But as far as like my experience with it, like I am deathly afraid of dropping this phone. It's such a signature piece. Like it really is a gorgeous, beautiful device that I'm afraid I'm going to like destroy it. Thankfully that Gorilla Glass Victus is there, but it just like when I have it in my hands, I'm like gripping it tightly because I don't want it to die because it's so beautiful and expensive, and don't die on me, please.
So to answer my own question, Gorilla Glass came out in February 2008 with version 1. And so it has been 12 years of Gorilla Glass from version 1 to version Victus. And I feel like Victus is them patting themselves on the back and doing a victory lap.
They're like, we
why
did
not
it.
just call it version 7? Yeah. So
yeah, right. They got to set it apart. But hey, maybe they have reason to set it apart. They did this drop test, against an iPhone 11 Pro Max, as you're seeing here, and the iPhone did not survive nearly as well as the Note 20 Ultra did. So at least there's that. Air Actions, is the feature that one of the S Pen features. That here, I'll see if I can show it. It's where you hold down the button and you do a particular kind of action. Let's see if I can go to the screen here. Let's go into a browser and I'll do right, left, pulls up. No, right, left. Okay, pulls up recents, but I still have to kind of like go in here with the pen in order to like navigate through. So that's kind of weird. Back. Okay, so that worked. Yeah. Let's see here. What else? Right, left pulls up recents. Left, right is, what is it? I thought it was back, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Up, down.
That looks really tedious. I would never use that in real life.
I mean, I'm not doing a very good job of demonstrating it right now, but I will say even when I'm focused on getting it right and not doing a podcast at the same time, it still works about 70% of the time for me. Like it's, and at the same time, I don't necessarily know why I'm doing it. Like, why do I want to control my phone with the pen?
It's because everyone wants to be a Harry Potter with the wand that moves things around. So makes sense.
Okay, so then I think I can get the camera. Oh, okay. I took a screenshot there. That's nice. And so I suppose
Jason, you got to handle that like Harry Potter, graceful.
I don't know any Harry Potter spells. I'm sorry. Yeah, see. I'm just messing it up now. The 5x optical zoom on the camera, I've really liked. I think they have a really great optical zoom option there. there's a camera mode called single take, and it's like you set the time. So right now it's set for 5 seconds, and essentially if I'm shooting a subject, I hit this, and during that time it takes a bunch of pictures, or it might do short video, or it might stylize. It's almost like an auto awesome, like a small container of auto awesome. So I don't know. I mean, granted, all you're seeing here is my desk, right? Because that's what it is. But like I was at the dog park. Let's see if I can find that picture. I was at the dog park and did this with my dog, and it did. I would basically shot with the camera, shot my dog for 10 seconds, and it did a little video, it did a little stylized thing, a little black and white. It does this speed up version. It does a little looping thing that's kind of boomerangish. And so they're using AI to kind of like give you options, to be like, all right, just point it at the subject and we'll give you a bunch of different camera options based on what we just saw. I think that's kind of neat. So,
yeah. And the fun part
does
is
that.
Yeah, and the fun part is that most, if not all, of those camera features are coming to regular Galaxy phones with One UI 2.5. So if you have a S20, like I just got it on my S20 the other day. I don't know if it's going on the S10. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's coming to more phones. So you won't have to buy a $1,400 phone to play around with that.
Yeah. Again, I think the conversation this year in particular on a device like this goes to, like, there are people out there they're just Note fans. And I know I'm going to hear from you who are going to say, I love the Note series. I'm happy to spend the money. I know this device is going to last me X number of years. Now Samsung's really supporting their devices with a long update schedule, so that's great. But it's just a weird year to be spending almost $1,500 on a device. And so yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that ends up limiting the Note in a way in this year in a way that it hadn't been limited prior. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, it's interesting. It's been an interesting kind of comparison to immediately go from the Pixel 4a to the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. It's like both sides of the spectrum. And right now, I feel way more comfortable with the 4A than I do with the Note 20. The Note 20 Ultra, I dare I say, feels like too much phone for me in this particular moment. It just feels too big, feels too delicate. I don't know. But
it's a 2020 mood, Jason.
What's that?
It's a 2020 mood right there.
Maybe
too much phone.
Is.
Too polished, too many features stuffed in. It's too much.
Yeah. I do not want to come across as sounding like I don't think it's a good phone. It's a great phone. It's just too much for me right now.
I think that's a very apt. I think that's apt criticism, because I think that again, we need. The phone market is ever evolving, ever changing, and we can find a lot of parallels between what companies are putting out and kind of what we're going through day to day as the consumers of these phones. And for a time like right now, the Note 20 feels like way too much. Just way too much for everything going on. And maybe this is a good time for Samsung to really think about. It's like the example we were talking about the camera earlier. I think it's great that Samsung has all those sensors in there, that it can do all those things. But are we really trying to cram everything? I don't know. I just kind of feel like maybe we have to change our approach looking at phones. Like maybe it's time for the Note line to just really be focused on being a Note and not trying to be a Note plus, the flagship kind of situation.
Yeah.
I will say, to Jason's point about it being too much phone, I think Samsung's One UI has always had a little bit of an issue with like too much stuff, especially with like information density. Like when you scroll down on the quick settings on any Galaxy phone, there's like 50 buttons there. And it's kind of scares you a little bit when you open that. When you do it on a Pixel, there's like 8. So it's Samsung definitely has an issue with cramming a lot of stuff in your face at once, and it can kind of be a lot.
Well, and that's what I.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, it's the Skype of it all. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, all I was going to say real quick is I feel like I've said that on previous Samsung devices a number of times, and the remark back on that always ends up being, well, then there are people out there that want all that. I don't know. I worry that I'm coming across right now, A, because I'm just having a hard time talking today, but B, that I'm coming across right now as sounding critical of the phone, and I'm not. I don't want to come across as critical of the phone. I think it's actually a really an amazing phone. It's just, and somebody in chat, Eric Duckman, mentioned this earlier. He said, this is a first, quote, it's too much. I feel like it kind of is. And I don't know if it's a change that's happening inside of me right now as far as what my personal needs are for a smartphone. But I'm starting to kind of realize right now, and the comparison of the 4A to this one really has driven it home for me that I don't know that I necessarily need all this phone. Like, and if I do, what do I need it for? I think I've always told myself I need all this phone because I do this show. But on a day-to-day perspective, like, my needs are pretty minimal. And as long as the camera is solid, for me, that's good enough. And a nice, nice tight design. And I don't know, this just feels like it feels a little overwhelming for me on a feature set perspective. And I know that others love that.
What I think is funny about that, though, is that if you go back to any conversation we've had about the Note through the years, is that change the specs and the feature in the phone, and oftentimes this is exactly what we said right when the phone came out.
Yeah, yeah.
The Note has always been an overwhelming, overpowered, different device, and we're like, who needs this? And then 3 months later, you get all these people who love it.
Yeah. Well, that definitely happened. I remember last year covering the Note 10 stuff, and like every year Samsung tries to come up with use cases for why you need the S Pen and why you need this giant screen and all this other stuff. And yeah, I think there's definitely people who just don't need it. They're good with the Galaxy S or they're good with the Pixel. This is very much a phone just for the people who love Notes.
Yeah,
especially at that price point.
Yeah, people who love Notes, they love a phone that's got everything crammed into it. So,
Yep,
which is fine.
That's true.
It's a personal preference. It's why these things exist. It's just, I think it gets a little, I think it's just also current times. It just feels very overwhelming to be bombarded with all those features right now.
Well, it has everything except the headphone jack, right?
That's also very true.
That is true. But you're not going to need the headphone jack because you're getting their bean buds. So right.
Yeah.
So, all right, Flo, you got the next one.
Yeah, let's move topics now away from Samsung and back to Old Faithful, Google, and its Pixel. So we're actually starting to get some leaked information and photos on the next round of the Pixel devices coming through. Now, Corbin, you did write about the latest leaks, but before we sort of get into it, I kind of want to just give our listeners a little rundown on what exactly those leaks are, just so everybody kind of knows what we're jumping into. So some of those details include that both the 4A 5G, so both the Pixel 4a 5G and the Pixel 5 will have rear-facing fingerprint sensors, so that's coming back, probably by popular demand. Both have a square camera module with the same 12.2 megapixel main that's been used since the Pixel 2, which is a Sony IMX 363 sensor, a wide-angle lens, and an 8 megapixel front camera. So it doesn't sound like it deviates too much from the previous models that people have in their hands. Both of these phones will have a plastic back design. 4A 5G will have a 3,800 milliamp battery, much bigger than the Pixel 4 batteries. Snapdragon 765G, 6 gigs of RAM, a 60 hertz display, a headphone jack, which we just said the Note doesn't have, and that will be for $500. So I think that's $200 more than the regular Pixel 4a. And then the Pixel 5
is 350.
Yeah, so 150 more.
150 more. Okay. That's not bad actually for 150 more. And then the Pixel 5 will apparently will be smaller in size in the 4A 5G. It'll have a 4,000 milliamp battery, Snapdragon 765G, so same processor there, 8 gigs of RAM, a little more memory, 90 hertz OLED display, so people are really going to like that for gaming, kind of surfing. It actually really helps just with general usage. And of course, again, no headphone jack to retain that unibody. Now, what kind of price range are we thinking for the Pixel 5 in particular? Are we seeing a $1,000 phone here, or do we think Google's going to try and find a niche with come in at the affordable price, get an assistant?
What do you think, Corbin?
Well, the Pixel 4 was, I think, it started at $800 for the small one, and now they've got a lower end chipset in it. So I don't know. It's so hard to tell with Google because they price things all over the place. But
they really do.
Maybe like 600, I would say. I don't know. It's really tough. Yeah, because there is other hardware differences that we might not see. Like, you know, Google usually puts in that that neural core that helps do some offline AI stuff.
Right.
And that costs money. And there might be solely. We don't know because the pictures are only the back of the phone. So I'm assuming maybe not because they've got the fingerprint sensor on there, but they could do both if they wanted to. So who knows?
I would say no, just because we as consumers, that is, just kind of weren't jumping over the moon about it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It wasn't as big of a selling point as I think they tried to market it as. I remember I saw it on a billboard and I was like, does that really work as a billboard to see on the side of the highway? Does that really get me excited?
Yeah. Well, and it was the issue of, the apps that needed the unlocking accounts and stuff, and apps needed the newer API, and like Google just doesn't have the market share to push new APIs like that. So,
that's why I never switched the Pixel 4. That's why I still have my review unit, and I never switched to it to kind of use it as a daily driver because I couldn't use some of, my banking app. Very important app for me to use. And I just really didn't want to type in the password.
Oh, your bank has an app. Fancy. Mine has a website wrapped in an app.
Well, I also am with a giant conglomerate bank that was part of the whole Wall Street thing. So, it's good and bad to everything.
You take some, you lose some.
Exactly.
But I will say this almost looks like a perfect course correction from the Pixel 4. Because what did people complain about the Pixel 4? They complained it costs too much. This will probably be lower because it has the lower chipset. They complained about the battery. That was a huge complaint with the small one. Yep. And they fixed that. They put a giant battery in it.
Giant battery and the lower processor is going to get extra kind of battery performance out of it as well.
Yeah, they complained about no fingerprint sensor. There's very clearly a fingerprint sensor there. Still no headphone jack. I feel like that'd be a really easy selling point for, granted there's probably not that many people now who are, where the headphone jack is like at their top of priority. But, every time we write about an LG phone, people bring up that they support the headphone jack. So there's got to be a couple people there. But yeah, I mean, I know people are upset about the plastic back. I think I didn't get to read exactly what the person who posted these images said because they posted them on Reddit and then the comments were almost immediately deleted. But I believe someone else who saw them said they think it's plastic, but they're not sure. Like it's like textured like plastic. So it could be another matte glass, but I'm team plastic phone. I don't like how phones weigh so much now because they have glass on the back and the front. And again, like we were talking about the Note 20, then you have to worry about the back smashing into pieces. You just don't have to worry with plastic. Now, the one caveat with that is one thing Samsung likes to do is they like to make plastic phones that feel glossy, and that is the worst thing in existence.
Hate it. Yep. Totally.
It doesn't look like Google's doing that here.
That's very true. Now, I was going to ask you, we think that, fixing a phone is a little more cost efficient if it's plastic. I'm just thinking about how much money I spent to fix my Pixel 3.
Yeah.
So
maybe. I don't know. I don't think Pixel phones, again, they've scored pretty low on those iFixit.
Right, because they're
ratings, too.
unibody. So
Yeah.
you got to take the whole darn thing apart and then piece it back together like a puzzle.
But, you know, maybe if it's plastic, that negates the need for repairing it in a lot of cases.
That's
you drop
really
drop that sucker on the floor, it'll probably be okay.
Yep. It's also a good point. Well, I guess is another one of those wait and see type of situations, right? I mean, all we can do right now is wait and see. This is really the only drama we've got. So I'll take it. You know, this one is swallowable. I can swallow this one. It's fine.
All right.
Also, we have. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Also, we have 2 Google devices that have arrived at the FCC, possibly new Sabrina, codenamed Android TV and Remote. So.
Oh yeah, we're kind of watching this make the rounds, and now it's at the FCC, which really seems to kind of be setting up for the October hardware event, or whenever that hardware event is going to be. I'm pretty certain we're going to see this.
Are we going to?
I imagine at that event and not before it, right?
Seems like
that would be really weird.
Yeah. So, Ron, did you ever think you'd see this coming?
I totally did because BlackBerry is the thing that will not die in the mobile phone marketplace, because guess what? The word BlackBerry has value. And as long as there's value, there's someone there who wants to use it. And sure enough, BlackBerry is back, ... again. BlackBerry, Onward Mobility, and FIH Mobile made a joint announcement with a plan to release a new 5G BlackBerry Android device in North America and Europe in the first half of 2021. And the most important thing is they confirm there will be a physical keyboard, the attribute that we all know and love from BlackBerry, now going on 20 years ago, right? Or 15 years ago, however long ago BlackBerries were around, 2005. Yeah, so 15 years ago. So, you know, just wait. All you gotta do is wait. You know, Flo is saying things to wait and see for. We gotta wait and see what this next iteration of BlackBerry looks like. They just won't quit.
BlackBerry is the ex that just won't stop texting.
I mean, between that and Nokia, it's like, they just, you know, these old brands that just won't quit. So.
Oh no, I love it when just random brands that haven't been relevant for 2 decades come back. Like what was the rumor that? Oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't a rumor. They actually came out. The Palm phones from like 2 years ago. Yeah, that happened. Oh, yeah. There was some other phone brand that was going to get a revival. I forgot what it was, but like it's, you know, they keep coming back. Just like there's still, like I can walk into Target and there'll be a Kodak branded Android tablet for some reason. It's great.
And that's the thing. I feel like in this era of reboots, this is just, it's happening in tech too. It's like, why try and innovate on something new? Why not just reprise something that used to be? And eventually, and I'm starting to, this kind of parallels my own like life experience right now. And just because as I'm getting older, I'm realizing I'm falling out of touch with like what's in now. I kind of feel like eventually at one point, you're not going to really be viable anymore because people are going to move on. And I just don't know that these brands will have the kind of staying power that some like photo brands have, for instance, like Kodak and Fuji. I feel like those are the only brands I can think of that have really managed to, you know, stay in the lane with vintage.
This is getting existential. I mean, I don't really know. Yeah, I mean, at some point, your value dissipates and your worth is no longer. But I wouldn't necessarily say that. Kodak, you know, I mean, the story of camera brands and photo brands like Kodak and Fuji and all this stuff and how they evolved. Polaroid is another one comes to mind. Polaroid is a beloved brand that geez, how many times has that brand been rolled out in the past 10 years? Like those little square GoPro like things that were called Polaroids for some reason, and like you know,
Polaroid sells TVs.
Yeah, exactly, right. And it's tough because these, what has happened is that we've created a world where the actual brand word has value as opposed to the actual product. And when the word of the brand exceeds the value of the product, then I think it's a little more upside down. But that said, it doesn't mean, I know everybody kind of rolls their eyes and groans at reboots and things like that, but like it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't deliver something good. And it's so easy. You look at TV and movies and stuff like that. I mean, most recently, Perry Mason on HBO was, a reboot of a 60-year-old television show that was awesome. They did a great job and was really a lot of fun to watch. And so, it definitely, it is, I do, you look at movies, and now I'm getting into entertainment and not from Android, but you look at movies and you see an original movie like Knives Out that came last year, or Parasite, that were just great, unique, not reboots and just new stories that are told. But there really is room for mixing both, but the product has to be good. Like the underlying thing has to be good and not a piece of crap with a logo slapped on it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And BlackBerry already did this. The Key 2 was a pretty solid device. It was kind of like the BlackBerry on Android done right for its time, a couple of years ago anyway. So, yeah. Of course, there's more juice in that BlackBerry. That was totally not intended. That was very accidental, to be honest.
Wait, did you mean to make a fruit reference?
No, I didn't. It just happened. Hey, something went right today. Yay. All right, Ron, you got the next bit.
I do. We want to thank our next sponsor of this episode, which is the fine folks at LastPass. And listen, LastPass Studios. It's all great. We love LastPass. And when LastPass surveyed global IT decision makers, 96% of organizations said that their remote workforce had impacted their identity and access management strategy. How can you manage identities and promote good security behaviors when your employees are remote? You can with LastPass. LastPass allows for secure password storage where you can give employees their own vault for storing every app and web login they use. It also has convenient password sharing that makes it easy for employees to share logins while keeping access to corporate data safe. And, of course, streamlined logins, which capture and fill every credential without disrupting an employee's workflow. LastPass also features centralized control, which enforces policies and get actionable insights into employee password behavior from an admin dashboard. They have simplified user management where you can instantly add and remove users or automate user management with directory integration. And best of all, you can access from anywhere. No matter where employees work, they always have their passwords with them from any device. So listen, when user identities are centrally and securely managed, a business can ensure that the correct employee is doing the right thing and has the right access. They'll work more efficiently when they can access the data and resources they need easily. And LastPass's IAM solutions help businesses improve the employee experience and safeguard from cyber threats. And listen, we use LastPass here at TWiT. I use LastPass personally for everything. I use it for my personal passwords as well as business stuff. With this move to working from home and remote, I'm working with different remote teams all around the world, and you need to share passwords. You want to make sure it's secure. You don't want to give up your company's secrets. LastPass is the best and safest way to do it. As mentioned, we all use it here at TWiT, and we love it. I've got my whole family up on it. You can't go wrong with LastPass. It's fantastic. So let your remote workforce focus on their work without compromising your business's security. Secure your remote workforce with LastPass. Go to lastpass.com/TWiT. That's lastpass.com/TWiT. And we thank LastPass for keeping us secure and sponsoring this episode of All About Android.
Thank you, LastPass. All right. We've got some app news to talk about. Some really important app news right now.
I'll tell you what's important.
Yeah, tell us.
If the weather frog can wear a mask, so can you.
The next chapter in Froggate, by the way. I love it.
Yeah. It just continues.
Yeah. So a couple of days ago, for some reason, the frog came into the ether. And I think it was because the frog was updated. And of course, the frog I'm talking about is the frog on the weather screen on Android OS. So in the Google Weather app, I guess, in the default weather app. If you go in there, sometimes you see a frog, depending on what the weather is like outside. Well, lately, folks have been seeing the frog showing up with a mask. Of course, if you're in California, the frog is also wearing a mask and is surrounded by smoke. So I can't confirm if the mask that the frog is wearing in the smoky scene is both N95 specific and also specific to helping fight coronavirus. But
a couple of things. First, is the smoky scene for real, or you said that to us in our chat the other day? I thought you were kidding, but is there really a smoky scene in California?
It's real. Yasmin Evgen, she tweeted a screenshot of her frog with smoke in the atmosphere, and I had replied to it and made that same comment about it being a double mask.
So then the image that we just saw of the frog, he's in front of what looks like a house that also looks like a mushroom, which then makes me wonder, does this frog exist in Mario Brothers land?
If you want to go really deep in this lore, he could also exist in the Elder Scrolls because they also have houses made of mushrooms in them.
Also, my frog has got a mask on and he's lifting a lantern. Oh, my screen just went off. He's lifting a lantern into the sky, just like the Disney movie Tangled. So does the frog exist in Tangled too?
The frog exists.
I see what you're trying to do here. You're saying this frog is the 6 degrees of separation, except instead of Kevin Bacon, it's the weather frog.
Yeah.
It's the weather frog universe, and we're all living in it.
I think the weather frog is the 21st century Forrest Gump.
Okay.
That floating, and he's just floating from weather pattern to weather pattern across all your favorite IP.
I just linked to, by the way, Burke, I linked to at Yasmin's tweet. And yeah, sure enough, it's a smoky atmosphere when the weather frog. That's kind of dour and depressing.
That's spot on.
Well, I mean, it's the weather. And the thing is the Google Assistant, when you look at the smart display, it tells you if there's smoke in the atmosphere that day, on the little weather marker on the screen there. And so it's a part of whatever API exists that smoke is in the atmosphere. And so welcome to our new reality, ladies and gentlemen.
I would also like it to be noted when the history books look back on all the various podcasts and blogs and stuff like that covered Android, All About Android was the one that got to the bottom of the frog and got the answers about it and continued to report on it on a regular basis. So the important things with Android, such as what the frog in the weather widget is wearing. So
we never let go of the frog story. You're right. And we continue to report on it.
Okay,
look, we need some joy.
We do need to do our due diligence, though. I think we need to get down to the bottom of this. We need to ask somebody at Google where this frog comes from, because I actually want to know the story of this frog. Yeah. Because that there's some sort of backstory that was written for it. Because you have to do that. You have to give it a little character arc, and that's how you kind of Where's
the fandom wiki article for the Google frog? We need to find it.
Someone's writing fan fiction about this Google frog somewhere on the internet.
Yeah,
and I'm afraid to read it. All right. So this week for the app spotlight, thought I'd pass it to you, Corbin. A, because today was a day, but B, because you actually wrote an article about an app that I was going to feature at some point. I've never been a player of Civilization. The series, but I know it's super popular
so much.
I know it's super popular, and Civ 6 just came out on Android. I guess it's been out on iOS for a while, probably a couple of years. And, so now it's out on Android. And you wrote about it. You actually said that it was kind of, I think you mentioned that it was your favorite Android game right now, but with some caveats. So tell us a little bit about it. What do you like about it? And by the way, Burke, there are some there are some Jiffy Cats in the article that you can show of some gameplay footage and stuff. But tell us your thoughts.
Yeah. So Civilization 6 has been on PC for 3 decades. It's a strategy game where you build up an empire and you go to war and you trade with other empires and you win by either conquering the other empires or building a rocket to Mars or winning over the World Congress. There's so much depth to it because it's an entire PC game. This isn't, some mobile spinoff. This is the full Civilization 6, the same game you get on PC. And it came out for iOS 2 years ago, and so that I'd pretty much given up hope it would come to Android, because I feel like if it hadn't already, then it wouldn't come. But nope, just out of nowhere, we got Civ 6 for Android. And again, it's the full game. It hasn't been toned down at all. There's no removed features. They had to change the interface a little bit because obviously your phone screen is smaller than a laptop or a desktop screen, but it's still playable. And I played it for hours, just like I've played the PC game for hours on end, and it's fun. The only catch is that this might be the most demanding game ever built for Android.
Oh, really?
I was playing it on my Galaxy S20, and it barely stayed at 30 frames per second. The list of compatible devices is very limited. It's basically just flagship phones made in the past 2 years. And I was lucky I have the only officially supported tablet, so I got to play it on my Galaxy Tab S6, and it's even better on there because they didn't change the interface at all. It's a lot of fun. So that's, now when people say, Corbin, why did you blow $500 on an Android tablet when you could just buy an iPad? Now I don't feel bad about it. So thank you, Civilization.
Finally.
I gotta tell you, I was playing. I'm gonna date myself, but the first Civilization that came out, I must have been in middle school, maybe. I want to guess that maybe early high school, and I just remember playing it like nonstop over a Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah, 1991. So I was in 8th grade going into 9th grade, or maybe it just entered 9th grade, and I just played hours playing Civilization. And every time a new version comes out, I download and install it, and I play it for less and less time in comparison to when I was in 8th grade. But I love that it's on Android now, and I'm totally installing this and playing it. So can you save your progress and come back to a game, or do you have to play it all the way through?
No, you can. So how it works is that the download is free, and they let you play up to 60 turns, and then you have to pay for the game, which is, I believe, only $20. So we're not at original Civ 6 $60 pricing, but you can save the game and come back to it. There is cross-save support if you log in with a 2K account, so you can play it on your PC and move it to the phone later. The only catch is that you have to have the same DLC on both for that to work, or like it'll go to the lowest common denominator. So there's the base game, which is $20, which is it's more than enough. There's also 2 main expansion packs that add a couple features, and then there's a list of extra civilizations you can buy that each have their own leader and abilities. But yeah, just the $20 version is fine. You're not I think they're charging $30 for the Rise and Fall and $40 for the Gathering Storm. That's too much money. You got to wait for that to go on sale.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
your Civilization.
It's a lot of fun. Like even at like 20 frames per second on my Tab S6, because I wanted to make the resolution higher. It's still fun because it's a turn-based game. It doesn't need to be 90 frames per second. It's fine. And it just makes me nostalgic when I was trying to play Civ 5 on my Mac Mini in 2011, and it could barely play the game. So it's look on the bright side.
Yeah, there you go. Right on. So that's Civilization 6. Cost.
I will say, not to completely shill for my employer, but if you don't have one of the compatible devices, you can sideload the APK because it's a free download. And I did do that to load it on my Tab S6 Lite to see how it runs. It barely runs, but if you have a phone that can probably run it, like I saw some people complaining that it wasn't available on the ROG Phone 2, and I'm sure it works on there, but you just slap that APK on there and you're good to go.
There you go. I love APK Mirror. great resource for this right here, especially. So Civilization 6, check it out, everybody, and read Corbin's article if you want to find out a little bit more about that at Android Police. All right, we got some emails. Mike writes in to say, hey, AAA team, as always, thanks for the weekly podcast. I listen to it faithfully every Wednesday morning. Nice. Says, okay, so I have a Samsung S9. I'm satisfied with it, but I was looking forward to getting the new Samsung Note 20 until I saw the price. Ouch. Then T-Mobile started its trade-in program where I can get $500 for my S9 towards the purchase of the Note 20 Ultra. So instead of $1,300, it would be $800. So I'm debating whether or not to take advantage of the trade-in program. I know if I wait another year, I will not get that trade-in value again and will be much less. So at $800 for the Note 20 Ultra, is that a good price? Again, I really don't need to upgrade, but $800 for the Note 20 Ultra seems like a very good deal. Your thoughts? And he says, P.S. I am quite confident that if I do get the Note 20 Ultra, I will hold on to it for at least 3 years. I don't know, $800 is a pretty good price for this hardware. The phone that you have right now, you bought a couple of years ago. I'm assuming you bought that outright or you own it outright. Like the way my mind works, it's like, oh, that's money that meant something to me 2 years ago, but now it's just the form of this device. And if I would imagine, if I was in your shoes, I'd be pretty compelled to really give this a hard think, because the S20 Ultra is going to last you 3 years. If you want to hold on to a phone for 3 years, Samsung's already put their reputation on the line to say, hey, we're doing three full updates on our devices, and this one is right at the top of that list. So you're getting at least 3 years of usage, if not 4. If you really wanted to extend beyond their updates, you totally could. So I don't think $800's a bad price for this by any stretch. You get a lot of phone for $800, but how much is that other phone worth to you?
That's a great price. I was just going to say my mom still has her Note 8, I think. It's like still chugging along, so... And she paid about the same amount of money back then, because that's how much it was worth back then.
And I will say, you will definitely not get $500 for a Galaxy S9 if you try to sell it yourself. So that's
that's also very true.
That's a steaming hot deal. Also, I will say, that doesn't sound like more than you'll get, but also check Samsung's website itself, because they also do crazy trade-in deals. That sounds like it'll probably be the same amount that T-Mobile's giving you. But, also when you buy from Samsung's website, you have the option of buying carrier unlocked. So if, in 6 months to a year, you decide you want to go to another carrier, you don't have to go through the really annoying unlock process.
Really good point there. I actually, in order to get the Note 20 Ultra, I signed up through the Samsung site, bought it through there, and signed up for the trade-in on the S20 Ultra. And, granted, that came out earlier this year, so there probably aren't a lot of people doing this. But I'm getting $650 of trade-in value from the S20 Ultra. I'm not sure if I could sell it for that, considering it's a used phone. Maybe, but, I mean... Samsung makes it really easy, and they sometimes throw in other perks as well. So you never know really what you're going to get if you go through the Samsung site. So I totally second what Corbin, what you said. Check out the Samsung site and see if you can get a better deal through there. You probably find that you can.
Also, little life hack with the Samsung website: if you're buying with a new account, go look on like Twitter and Google for referral codes, because if you put one of those bad boys in, you'll get 5% off. So little bit of extra
save a little tax.
Yeah, and then if you're me and you dropped out of school 8 months ago, but they never turned off your school email, you can get that nice student discount too. So
excellent, nice work. All right, Flo, you got the next one.
I do have the next one. This one's from John. So John's actually writing in about that PinePhone that we were talking about last week. So John wrote, why cut off the headphone port on the PinePhone? The headphone jack is audio in and out, as well as a UART port for flashing the phone in the event that you brick the phone and need to recover it over serial connection. Thank you, John. That's actually a really good point that I didn't think about. And if anybody who doesn't know what UART stands for, it stands for Universal Asynchronous. I'm such a hard time pronouncing things. Universal Asynchronous. Why can't I say
Asynchronous.
that?
Yeah, you
Thank
got
you.
it.
Asynchronous. My parents are immigrants. Asynchronous receiver / transmitter. So, not a communication protocol, but actually a physical circuit in a microcontroller. Can receive and transmit serial data. So, that's kind of cool and hackery.
Totally hackery.
It's very on brand for the phone.
Exactly. Very on brand. Precisely.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you, John. All right. Ron, you have the distinguished one.
I am so honored to share with everybody. Although I don't know if it's an email. Does it count as an email?
That's true.
Jason? I don't know. Our communication of the week, or our
communication of the week.
Our community
Reader
communication
letter
of the week. Ladies, I was leading up to the fanfare. Ladies and gentlemen, our community communication of the week. Thanks, Burke. All right, there it is. At Rebecca Div on Twitter writes in and says, "Hey, Jason, Flo, and Ron. I was the one who wrote in about there we go, asynchronous. I was the one who wrote in about the watches about a month ago. The Fitbit Versa 3 seems to have Google Assistant coming to it. I wonder if it will be any better. Despite me feeling as if I won't buy another Fitbit, customer service told me that the Google Pixel 4 wasn't a verified device a couple months ago, faced with rolling eyes. I know, still the minority on watches, but hopefully there will be some reviews in the coming months. Maybe there is hope for me." And Rebecca Div, I have hope. I share that hope for you. Maybe there is hope for you someday. I don't know if how we feel about the Fitbit Versa 3, but it looks as if the Fitbit Sense and the Versa 3 are gonna kind of expand on what Google Assistant can do with the device, which is nice to see. So maybe that's something to look forward to. I don't know.
Yeah,
how do we feel about Fitbit? So.
The Versa 3, as far as I know, is much more palpable Fitbit smartwatch. Definitely much more so than its like previous generations. And I actually, sometimes I'll be out and I'll ask, well, pre-corona, I would have been out and I would have asked somebody, "Hey, what's that smartwatch?" And they usually would have said, "Oh, this is a Fitbit." So it's kind of one of those unassuming smartwatches that I think is taken off for people who aren't using the Apple Watch, but who want a similar aesthetic. So I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with Fitbit once, this whole everything just culminates and,
things settles. Yeah. I mean, this is the first time that you can get Assistant on a watch that isn't a Wear OS device. So, and certainly this is, in large part due to the fact that Google now owns Fitbit, bought them last November. So I don't know if
the acquisition hasn't gone through yet. They're getting
thanks to antitrust things in the EU.
Right.
Those pesky people in the EU trying to look out for people.
Yeah.
Quit looking out for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not very pro-business.
Do we think we're ever going to see a Fitbit running Android Wear?
No.
Or Wear OS, sorry.
No. I don't think so.
No.
I know.
You guys know, honestly, the day that and I apologize, this is going to upset some people, but the day that I pretty much gave up on Wear OS was when it was still Android Wear. I was walking through an airport. I was running late to a red-eye flight, and I was trying to talk to the assistant, and it just would not connect. And I had full bars and everything on my phone. And I remember in that moment just saying, this is never going to work. Whatever this idea is of the assistant, like all of this back and forth pairing between watch and the phone, it's never going to work. And so I gave up on the assistant on the phone, and I really would just like to see a solid watch. If it comes from Fitbit, that's great. If it comes from Google, great. But I'm just waiting for something solid.
Well, Flo, I will validate your
Thank you.
Your complaints, because to this day, Assistant barely works on Wear OS. I've reviewed a bunch of the recent Fossil watches, and I still wear the Skagen Falster 3 almost every day. I'm not wearing it now because I'm reviewing the new Galaxy watch, but I usually wear it. I don't even try with the Assistant on those watches. It never connects right. I don't know what dark magic Samsung has where Bixby works every time, but Google Assistant on the Wear OS doesn't. But never works.
You know what? That is so on brand for Bixby that there would be some dark magic that just like makes it work. It's like you're trying to summon one type of, spiritual entity, but you end up just summoning ghosts that you've never met before. And
it's staying alive just to spite everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
right.
Like no one really asked for Bixby, but it's staying around, and somehow it manages to work better. Just to spite everyone.
Just in this one thing too. Like Bixby doesn't work better in a number of different ways, but this one it does. So at least Bixby's got this.
Yeah.
At least you can't take it all away from Samsung. Thank you, Rebecca, for writing back. And this time you weren't the what do we call it? Correspondence of the week last time, but you are this time. So thank you.
The community communication of the week.
Okay.
Community communication. Today's complaint board. Who's next?
Wow, we are sterilizing this bit with every episode. And with that, we have reached the end of this episode of All About Android. Corbin, thank you so much for hopping on with us this week. We really appreciate your time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. It's been a hoot.
Right on. Tell people if someone's looking for your work, obviously they can find it at Android Police. If they want to follow you online, where can they do so? What do you want people to know?
You can follow me on Twitter at Corbin Davenport, or you can go to corbin.io, and it has all my social links there. If you're on Mastodon, come find me. There's not a lot of people over there. But yeah,
wasn't that going to replace Twitter? I thought I read that everyone was going to leave Twitter and go to Mastodon. Did that not happen?
Well, it's funny. Like I log on occasionally, and there'll be this huge spike of new people, and I'll wonder what happened. Where all these people come from? And it turned out like, oh, Tumblr banned all these people, or Twitter did a crackdown. It's like, oh, so it's like the refuge, but it's much nicer there. The people are nicer.
I have heard that.
They have content warnings on posts, which I don't know how no one else has figured that out yet, but it's good. It's a good place.
I have not spent any time with Mastodon. I'll have to check it out. Thank you again, Corbin. This was a lot of fun. We'll have you back soon. Appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Flo, what about you? What's going on in your world? I see 3 links here, so a lot's going on in your world.
Well, last week I had I was trying to tell people to do stuff and visit websites, and I didn't link Burke to any of them. So this week I linked Burke. So Burke, we're gonna do a little Flo social media run through. So go to florenceion.com for my resume and all my run of the mill thoughts. And you can go to florenceion.com/work for the latest links of my published work and podcast appearances outside of All About Android and Material Podcast, which I also do with the Andy and Notco on the Relay FM network. Or you go to flowrights.tech for even quicker links to my latest work and other social media pages. Plus, I started updating a reading list so you can read along with me with what I am consuming on the internet, because I know we're all at home and all we're doing is doom scrolling. And while I do a little bit of doom scrolling, I'm also reading a lot of things. And I would, come have discourse with me, join my Discord, where we have this discourse. We have a really great keyboard room where everybody's showing off their new builds. We have games, game codes coming in every day from the community. And you can find a link to that either on my website or at flowrights.tech. So that's what's going on.
And I am in that Discord. I can confirm it's fun.
Oh, thank you, Corbin.
Excellent. Thank you, Flo. What about you, Ron?
Yeah, so earlier in the show, we were talking about reboots. I mentioned Perry Mason, and then I remembered that, oh, hey, I was on a podcast talking about Perry Mason. So go to iFanboy and check out the monthly Media Explode, where we talk about movies and TVs and other media other than comic books that we're enjoying. And I joined the guys over there for that. And we did talk about Perry Mason on HBO, as well as I talked about my what to stream now recommendation of Muppets Now on Disney Plus. That if you're a Muppet fan, you want to check that out. So yeah, go to ifanboy.com. You can check that out. And then also my little pinball side project. Recently, we updated the webpage, and I thought Jason and Flo, I would share you guys with what it looks like. In that regard, we updated scorebit.io to the website, moved away from the old version. But yeah, there it is. Coming soon.
Coming soon.
I love it.
It's all
very,
mystery.
We're very, very close. Yeah, we've closed our pre-order campaign or our advanced order campaign, and we're very, very close. We're on the eve of launching. So hopefully soon. I just got an email from the Google Play Store developer console about the latest build that just was deployed to the app. We're currently in internal testing. So so it's coming soon. So stay tuned, my friends.
I can't wait. Every time we get to this part of the show, I feel like I'm hoping that it's the time where you're going to be
we've been trying to launch since March, but then COVID made us kind of readjust, and then we were gonna do it in June, and it just keeps pushing because you start working on this stuff, and it's really, I mean, from a product development standpoint, I mean, the hardware stuff is done. Like, we have the hardware in hand, we're ready to ship. We've been working on the software side, and we finally had a kind of come to Jesus conversation like a week or so ago. And one of our friends gave us some very good advice. That is, if you ship a product that you're not embarrassed about, you waited too long to ship.
Okay.
Right. Which actually, when you think about it, is really true in our space. And so we're like, all right, let's just cut it, and we'll do updates. We'll add more stuff later on. Let's get it out. So that's where we are right now. Yeah. So
release early, release often.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I can't wait, Ron. I'm so excited for you. It's awesome. Thanks to Burke at the studio for pushing buttons and helping behind the scenes. Thanks to Victor also for producing behind the scenes, editing, and everything else that he does. You can find me all over the TWiT network doing shows, of course, Hands on Android. This week's episode that's up right now is all about it's more like a refresher on installing apps outside of the Play Store. Really kind of use the Fortnite story to kind of frame an episode around like what you should know when you're installing apps outside of the Play Store, how easy it is. It's really easy to do. Anyone that watches this show or listens to this show probably already knows that, but tried to kind of give some insight into the whole process and things to know. So check that out. This week's episode coming up is going to be all about the S Pen and the things that the S Pen allows for in the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. So twit.tv/HOA. If you want to get some shirts, we have All About Android shirts for sale at twit.tv/store. You can find them and get our logo on a shirt that you wear all across town or in your house. Either way, it's kind of the same thing right now. So there you go. Don't forget to wear a mask, much like the frog. Do it and you'll save lives. That is it for this week. We appreciate you watching each and every week. The show can be found at twit.tv/AAA. Just go there and you can subscribe and check it out from there. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time on All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, host at TWiT TV. Got a question for you. Have you gotten tired of how bad your photos are looking every time you post them to Instagram? Better yet, have you gotten yourself a new camera and you can't quite figure out why the images just don't look that good? Well, I have a solution for you. It's my show, Hands on Photography. Each and every Thursday, I sit down and share different tips and tricks that are going to help make you a better photographer and a better post processor. So subscribe today at twit.tv/hop to learn more.